It was in the late 19th century that school uniforms first appeared in Japan. Japan was modernizing and at the same time had a prosperous country, strong military mindset. This is the school uniform that was first adopted by Tokyo Imperial University in 1886. A mandarin collar with gold buttons, almost exactly the same as the style today. It was modeled on a military uniform. At the time, military-style exercises were incorporated into university life. The government's policy of prosperous country, strong military even extended to universities. Amid this mood of militarism, mandarin collar uniforms became widespread. The uniforms played a role in maintaining order in a large student population. Meanwhile, the sailor suit with skirt, that is the typical style of Japanese schoolgirl uniform, first appeared in the early 20th century. These sailor suits were worn at a girls' school in Fukuoka in 1921. They were adopted by the American school principal, Elizabeth Lee. She was already a fan of the sailor suit when she arrived in Japan. It was the latest fashion in the US in those days. This is an American fashion catalogue from a century ago. The sailor suit was also a popular design for children's clothes. The women's fashion magazine Vogue also featured women wearing sailor outfits at around this time. The sailor suit's boyish, get-things-done appeal was popular back then. Lee had her students wear sailor suits in the hope that Japanese girls would play a more active role in society. These outfits were easier to move around in and were less expensive than the Japanese-style clothes that students wore previously. Sailor suits proved popular with students and parents. But a newspaper criticized the uniform as a weird naval look. Sailor suits stood out at a time when traditional Japanese outfits were the norm. 2 years later, in 1923, the Great Kanto earthquake struck. 100,000 people died. It was said that many women failed to escape because traditional Japanese garments restricted their movement. This led to the rapid adoption of Western clothes by women. Spurred by the trend, more schools adopted sailor suit school uniforms. By the 1930s, sailor suits had spread to schools throughout Japan. For girls in their teens, sailor suits were now a fashion touchstone. These were the bright years before the onset of the Second World War. In the 1960s, Japan was emerging from the impoverished post-war era and enjoying booming economic growth. But the social fabric was beginning to come apart at the seams. Students demanded the dissolution of universities and staged a series of violent demonstrations. Uniforms were denounced as a symbol of control. Then, in the 1970s, a wave of misconduct swept through the younger generation, causing havoc at schools. In response, the schools cracked down. They rallied around this slogan: disorderly dress leads to disorderly behavior. Dress codes became stricter, with every detail of the student uniform spelled out. But the more the rules were tightened, the more the students rebelled. This marked the rise of revamped uniforms. Jackets with hems hanging down to the knees, baggy pants, and other blatant distortions of the uniform became a fad. Students expressed their resistance to adult authority in their uniforms. Rebelling against schools and society by wearing intentionally disheveled versions of prescribed uniforms became a defining characteristic of the era. In the late 1980s, Japan enjoyed a period of unprecedented economic prosperity. This was the age when the second-generation baby boomers born in the 1970s were entering high school. A surge in student numbers led to many new schools being established, and they had to compete for students. That led to a new trend for snazzier uniform styles. Uniform makers and department stores held fashion shows for school uniforms. School staff flocked to these events. World-famous designers like Hanae Mori and Junko Koshino were commissioned to design uniforms. In the race to sign up students, one school after another adopted fashionable uniforms.
I really can't see these as uniforms myself, but maybe I'm just being old-fashioned.
These uniforms are so stylish. I think students would love it at our school if they could wear uniforms like this.
Japanese school uniforms were introduced to tighten control, later survived an age of rebellion, and went on to become objects of fashion. Harajuku, Tokyo, a magnet for young people. Teenage girls flock to this unique shop. Lining the racks are what at first glance look like school uniforms. But actually, these are not the uniforms of any existing school. This shop specializes in uniform style fashion. This girl is starting at high school in the spring, but her new school doesn't have a uniform. She wants to buy her own uniform-like clothes to wear to school.
Looking at this white cardigan, you could easily match it with almost any skirt, ribbon or necktie.
From the vast selection of items, the customer puts together an outfit that resembles the authentic uniform of an existing school.
I've always wanted the real high school girl look. I want to come here again, buy lots of varieties and wear my own customized styles.
Personalized uniforms like this are called look-alike uniforms. They're hugely popular among female high school students. Students who have school uniforms and those who don't create their own coordinated styles and then hit the streets. It's an interesting fashion phenomenon where real and look-alike uniforms mix. The man behind this boom is Takayuki Ayura. He used to run an ordinary clothing shop, but 13 years ago he started selling uniform-style fashion. Since then, sales have been steadily increasing. When he was at high school, Ayura rebelled against standardized uniforms. He even called for the abolition of uniforms. A few years after he graduated, his old school adopted a free dress code. Then, a high school girl from Ayura's old school came to his shop and said something that astonished him.
She said she wanted to wear the kind of uniform that only high school students can wear during their 3 years of high school. But she wanted to wear a style she liked and not something spelled out for her. For her, a uniform was a means to fully express herself. Something that looks like a uniform, but it's really a unique, personalized fashion statement. That was what she was after. I was stunned by that idea when I first heard it.
At first, Ayura was baffled by what he'd been told, but he gradually came around to thinking that he would like to help this girl to get what she wanted.
What these girls really want is to create their own personal uniform. And I want them to be able to create that one and only look. So I give them the opportunity to choose the uniform that best fits them from a broad assortment. They can coordinate the entire outfit.
Ayura launched an original brand of uniform style fashion. He now manages 5 specialized boutiques across Japan. And he has reached a point in his thinking where he sees these styles as a symbol of freedom. Ayura's brand has even expanded overseas to more than 20 countries in Europe and Asia. Japanese school uniforms have jumped over the school walls and are now becoming a popular fashion trend around the world. A platform at Tokyo Station. A cleaning crew awaits the arrival of a bullet train and bows to it as it pulls in. The cleaners for these bullet trains have recently been in the spotlight. Between the arrival of a train and its next departure, they only have 7 minutes to do their job. Cleaning a single bullet train takes a crew of 20 to 30, and it's a race against time. The workers buzz through without missing a stain, and they wear flashy uniforms that are far different from the conventional cleaner image. Bullet trains have a global reputation for running on time. These cleaners are among the people working behind the scenes to make that happen. Their speed, excellence, and professionalism are outstanding, and they attract a constant stream of foreign TV crews and observers. But this is not how the work was always done. Cleaning work is hard and unglamorous. For many years, building team spirit seemed an impossible challenge. Until someone suggested tackling that challenge with uniforms. His name is Yukihito Kakizaki, and he was assigned to the cleaning team 6 years ago. Kakizaki used to be a bullet train driver. Bullet train drivers are the stars of the rail industry, and their uniforms are a badge of pride. It was coming from this background that prompted Kakizaki to propose using the power of a uniform to transform workplace mentality.
Uniforms aren't necessary to the work itself, but they help to make the work we do visible to customers, and that continually reminds us to clean in a way that our customers will appreciate. That's what's important.
Kakizaki got rid of the drab uniforms that the cleaning crew used to wear and introduced a type used in customer service jobs like restaurant work. He also added bow ties.
At first I was afraid the workers wouldn't like the bow ties, but surprisingly they really took to them. It even made them smile. I thought, wow, this really does make a difference. And the workers started to look happier. I felt really good about that.
The bright uniforms heightened staff awareness that their work was attracting attention. This led to a natural improvement in their performance. Eventually, a staff member who shared Kakizaki's views made a proposal. How about seasonal uniforms, Hawaiian shirts in summer, and Santa Claus style at Christmas? Train riders loved this idea.
A lot of us enjoy this job because we like being appreciated by the customers. We have fun doing our work.
Before, the cleaning crew mentality was just do the cleaning and the job is done. But these days, we hear a lot more thank yous, and that boosts morale. We all feel better about ourselves, and that's great.
The power of uniforms to change mindsets is leading to great changes in the workplace.